Welcome to another episode of the Next Level on Purpose podcast. I'm very excited to share yet again experiences from my life that will really help you activate and evolve towards your highest self. By the time that we are done with this episode, you will definitely get some clarity and confidence that will not only radically transform your life, but will help you understand the power of purposeful living. And you definitely will feel confident to take your next best step in line with your divine destiny. Today has been a very interesting day between serving clients and doing my usual errands. I had a gentleman come and do the fixtures for my living room, and we got talking, and he has been doing this work in my house. We're going room by room, so I've had a couple of opportunities to have a chat with him, and I must tell you that Richard is such an amazing spirit. And just watching him do his work with such excellence and such diligence made me literally put my work aside for half an hour just to have a chat and really get to understand some of the things that drive him, because I realize that enthusiasm, energy, high energy, and positive vibrations are not something that everybody has. And as I spoke with him and got to understand a little bit more of his backstory, I realized that he's tapping into what I will share with you in today's conversation. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about your core essence. As a woman who is a trailblazer, and you're looking to transition from your 9 to 5 job, or you are running a business and on the side, or you're contemplating, doing a mix of both, having your career and also launching a business, it's so important for you to understand you. And that's what I want us to talk about today. What is your core essence? Your core essence is what makes you uniquely you and is what separates each person in their individuality. As I was speaking with Richard, the way he expressed himself, some of the terminologies he was using, he was very quick at, talking to me and at the same time drilling through the wall, and he still has talking to his team in the office. And I was so impressed with his personality, how he was able to get so much done, but at the same time keep me meaningfully engaged in conversation without losing his trail of thought. And many of us do not take time to think about what our core essence is. Think of a moment in your life where you have felt so alive, full of joy, full of vibrancy. There are moments when we are so lit up. There are moments when you can literally see yourself beaming. I took a walk early this morning and it was really cold and crisp out there, but my heart was so warm because I just jumped out, had jumped out of a coaching session that because of the different time differences between myself and the coaching group, was ending at almost 3 a.m. my time. And when I woke up, you know, I slept for about 4 hours max, but I was so full of energy. Why? Because the conversations that were in that room, the strategies that we came up, the energy that was being elicited was so inviting and so warm that even as I don't applaud not sleeping enough, but I can tell you for a fact that as I went for that walk, I could just feel that I was all right. I could not feel the deficit because I was tapping into my core essence. And you'll recognize this, right? When people talk about something that they love, their eyes brighten, you can tell their breath will shift and bliss seems to emanate from every core of them. And that's what I saw with the gentleman when he was talking about some of the houses that he has putting the curtains and the blinds and the fixtures, and as he talked about the colors that we were going to bring in and all these things, the man just could not stop. He was so enthusiastic. He was so full of joy that I could tell that he was completely in his element, because it's in that state that we are quintessentially ourselves. In that state where you are completely doing the thing that you love and doing it with passion, with vigor, with excitement, and getting rewarded for it, well, something shifts. That's your core essence. And I found for me, because clients ask me, how do I tap into my core essence? And we're going to look at some practical tips, because this podcast is all about being practical. For me, I have found that mindful practices really help me come closer to that essence, and helps me find ways to integrate my truth into my everyday. So, for example, one of the things I love to do every single day is to meditate. And in that state of meditation, I use different apps. For those of you who wonder which types of apps should I use for your meditation, I'll give you a few. I personally love Soul Space. It is amazing, amazing. It is a Christian meditation app. It's totally up my alley. I would highly recommend it. I also like Headspace. Calm is also really good. So choose from the wide array of apps that are there, but I must say that you must connect with it in a way that you feel it brings out that part of you. Because your core self is your true self, or what I'd call your most authentic self, when you're at your highest, when you're at your most true. It's that place where your inner wisdom just naturally pops, where that wise self, that inner voice just comes out so naturally without blinking. I was sharing with my coaching group last night about some stuff that had been happening in my life, especially with my family back at home. We lost two close relatives, and it had been very difficult processing it, especially from a distance. And I was just explaining to them how they were like, "How are you coping? How are you able to do this, especially so early in the year?" And then it clicked for me that I understand mortality, but not understanding mortality from an ignorant space, but understanding that what has happened has happened. Number one, it cannot be reversed. But what can I do, even in my mourning, even in my sadness, to be able to be true to myself in terms of how I mourn, how I mourn, and how I release the feelings and emotions. And I realized that sometimes we pretend everything is okay when it's not. And I have learned over the years, and if you've been listening to this podcast, we are early days, but I've shared a lot of what has happened in my life. And when I go back to what has helped me come out on the other side, it's truly being in touch with my core essence, my authentic truth, my inner wisdom, my wise self, that inner natural. Are you in touch with your inner natural? Are you in touch with your inner wisdom? And I want to say this, many of us think that our thoughts are what control us. It's not our thoughts. So when you're stuck in a web of negative thoughts, your core part, your core self, is the part of you that notices these thoughts, right? So that part of you that notices the negative thoughts is your essence, and that's your intuition. And I want you to take some time right now to take up a piece of pen and paper, because I think it's important for us to analyze what ways that we can tap into this essence. And I want you to know that an essence is not, it's not your story, it's not the stories that you create about yourself, especially the ones that come over decades of limiting beliefs or stories that you have created. And it's very easy to get pulled into those negative stories and think that is your core essence. No, that is not what it is. So I want you to take a pen and paper and think about these thoughts. So the first prompt I'm going to share with you that can help you contemplate your core essence is I am. What are you? Right? I am. And then you write what you are. And not from a place of sadness, not from a place of deprivation. I am a trailblazing professional woman who blah 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 blah. Right? For me, as I always share with you, I am a coach who works with trailblazing women and blah, and I am powerful. I am keep going. Right? You can say all those things. I am the engineer of my future and I design it moment by moment. And I want you to really go deep because you're in charge of your thoughts and your beliefs. So that's one prompt, and you can go on and on about what it is that you consider yourself to be. And then the words that describe you, as talked about, I'm nurturing, I am kind, I am a communicator, mentor, coach, wife, all those things, sibling, auntie, whatever, right? We all have those um, words that describe me. Caring, kind, I think I've repeated those, but you get the gist of it. Confident, right? Go and think about the thing that describe you. And then it's also good to look at what you're most afraid of. So I am most afraid of, go ahead and write. What are your doubts? What are your fears? So I did an activity the other day and I wrote down my fears. What are some of the fears that I have? For me, one of my biggest fears is being in alignment, being out of alignment with myself, not keeping my word to myself, doubting myself. For me, that's huge. And I think one of the other things that I'm most afraid of, right, is not being consistent with my word or not being consistent with what it is that I put out there, because it's so important for me, as I have shared in the previous podcast, that my values are abundance, freedom, purpose, faith, and excellence. So if anything that takes me out of abundance and takes me into a lack mentality, I am afraid of that. Anything that curtails my freedom of speech, of work, of movement, or whatever, again, I don't like that. And then um, my excellence, anything that is mediocre or does not fall to a certain level, we spoke about setting the bar for yourself, set a higher standard for yourself. Again, for me, it's something that I would be concerned about, right? So think about yours. Is it against my faith? Does it fall outside of my core beliefs, outside of what my spirituality entails? That's very important for me. And then another one I would ask you to look at is what you value the most. I value. So I value relationships. I value connection. That's very, very, very important to me. I value my faith. Purpose is what leads me. I eat, live, breathe purpose. So these tools I'm giving you, these questions that I'm giving you, these prompts will really support you to think deeper and harder into what your core essence is. Think about what your strengths are. So that's another one. My strengths are, where are you strong at? So for me, I am a good communicator. I am able to listen, and at the same time, I'm really good at speaking. I'm really good at sharing in a very open way that people understand. I do not fuffle, waffle. I'm very clear and to the point, and I think the simplicity with which I express myself is quite a strength. I'm also I have a very good ability to maintain relationships. I have friends who have been my friends for donkey years, and I'm also able to make new friends easily. I'm very loyal. If you know me, I will love you and love on you. And that's what I do with my clients. So I want you to think for yourself as well. Because when you get recognition of what your strengths are, you'll be able to go back to what your true nature is, your essence. And when this true nature is realized, your path becomes clear, and God, the divine states of loving kindness, compassion, empathy, joy, all those beautiful things emerge. So think about it. If you could look behind and beyond your surface personality, what would you see? Like outside what people see on the surface. Let's go deeper. What would that look like? This is the great journey of our lives, a journey of remembering who we are. Who are you? We ask that question, and why we are here. And it is through this remembering, the remembering of who we are and why we are here, that we can make the connection to our essence. And that once you connect to your essence, this is so vital to your overall happiness and fulfillment. I was once working with a client earlier on, I think it was 2 years ago or so, and she said that she'd love to be a coach, and she was very interested in the sphere of being a parent coach. And I was but immediately she said, I would love to be a parent coach. Then she quickly covered it up and said, oh, but who am I kidding? I don't think I can do it. I have so many other roles that I'm playing, and I'm not in a position. Let me just parent my own kids. What am I thinking? And I could see the fear, the doubt, the limiting beliefs quickly crippling in. And I decided to just intervene and just hear a little more about what this interest entailed. And I stopped her in her tracks, and I said to her, let's go over this again. You did say to me that you're interested in being a parenting coach. Let's talk about this. Tell me a little more. And let me tell you, the true essence checked in, because the words that came out of her mouth were so powerful. She said, you know what, Joanne? I like to help people. I love to be a mother. I am a nurturer. I'm great at helping children see themselves as they are. And I'm also good at helping parents see who they are as pertains to their parenting skills. And I do it all the time because I have 4 young ones, she said to me. And she says, I love reading about how to improve as a parent, and I'm able to do so much to ensure that my children have a conducive environment for their growth, and on she went. And interestingly, the more she spoke, she was actually even giving me a plan of who she'd like to work with, what kind of children should want to be to which type of children the parents should want to coach. And she was very articulate and clear about it. So I want you to think about it. As you create the life that you desire, what is it that you feel you are blocking as pertains to your true essence? Because all of us have places that we block ourselves. Where are you refusing to see yourself? Where are you refusing to take calculated risks? Where are you refusing to admit that you need help? Because most of us operate from a place where you have inner feelings of frustration, anger, and uncertainty, but you don't give yourself that time to really analyze yourself and see where you stand with that. And as I say always, is that you need to notice when you shut down. Because when we shut down, what we're doing essentially is not giving ourselves permission to hear what the inside of us is trying to tell us. And when you shut down, I want you to notice that you're actually denying your voice. By you shutting down and not fully listening to yourself, this is what happens. There are desires, there are needs, there are feelings that you are not allowing. But what would actually happen if you give yourself permission to just go to that place that you're scared of going into? Because I realized that when you connect to your core self, a whole world of possibilities opens up. It means you connect to your primary emotions, you connect to your dreams and your needs, and it means that you have access to what truly fulfills you. And that is a first step towards you actually making the moves to pursue it. And I want to encourage you. You are the engineer of your future, and you design it moment by moment. And this occurs by how you think, how you feel, and what you believe to be true for yourself and the world around you. You are in charge of your thoughts and beliefs, which gives you the ultimate power over your life and the outcome that you get. As I have mentioned several times, having transitioned from a corporate job to launching my own business, these are the foundational steps that I had to take to really identify what was a good fit for me, because many of us make decisions based on what other people feel. So, for example, you're thinking of transitioning from your 9 to 5 to launch a cookery school. Let me just, that's a random one that came to my mind. And one of your friends says, but you're not a really good cook. Or why cooking? You're a banker. Why don't you concentrate on helping people with their finances? That was me, that the second bit, the banker. And you start getting carried away by what your friends have said, and you're like, oh, they actually know me, and you're right. I'm better off doing what it is that I'm good at or I have trained at. But that's not your core essence, because your core essence, that inner natural, is the one calling you out and telling you, listen, there's something here for you in the cooking. There's something here for you in that kitchen. There's something here for you as you create delectable culinary experiences for people. And that's what the gentleman said to me, Richard, the one I started with the story. He said to me that the best way he's been able to not only enjoy his life is because he knows that for him, what matters most is not the things that he buys or the material possessions that he's able to get as a result of the amazing work that he does in this world. For him, it's the meaningful experiences, the memories, and he showed me some photos of himself in Croatia with his friends. And he's like, this is what truly counts. This is what makes me feel alive. This is what brings me joy. This is what lights me up when I spend time with people. When I go out to different countries and I travel and I experience different cultures, different personalities, that's it. When you know yourself from the core, that without a shadow of a doubt, you're able to stick to your truth and do that which sets your heart on fire. So, as I wind this episode down, I want you to start asking yourself questions that will help you spark the thoughts around your true essence, that inner you that we've just spoken about. And some of the questions would be, what areas of my life do I want to be better at? Where do I want to improve? And how do I move forward when I face an obstacle? On my coaching session yesterday, that's one of the things that we had a conversation around. And for me, I realized that sometimes it's easy for me just to crack on without even processing my grief. I'm like, it's life, it's what has happened. And a lot of it has come from either how I have been socialized or my own personal experiences. And one of the ladies asked me, what about if you take time to step away from it all and allow yourself to grieve? And my instant response was, but life still has to continue. And she's like, think about it. One day, if you don't process some of these things, you would be minding your own business, and suddenly you're in a supermarket and you just burst into tears because you have so many unprocessed emotions. And she was right. But I understand myself so well that when I face an obstacle, I'm like, right, this is what has happened. How do we keep moving? However, that may not necessarily be the best way. And that's why it's so important for you to understand yourself. So, for what I've done in this last month is taking the weekend away. Away means going into a hotel and literally using that time to just rest, get my mind off what is happening, and just recuperate, just get my mind sorted and read a good book and then come home. So that like last weekend, that's what I did, the Friday and the Saturday, and came back home very refreshed on Sunday. That's an example. Stepping away from it all so that you can process it. Another thing is, what skills can I learn to help me get better? The key to significant growth and self improvement, and this is so important as you tap into your true essence, is continually finding ways that you can grow yourself, right? Asking yourself better questions will help you make sure that you're not self sabotaging. So, some of the questions that you could find yourself without even recognizing that are very damaging can be like, why am I such a failure? How come things never seem to work out for me? How come I'm always the one who is behind? How come I'm always so indecisive? Why is this plan taking longer than it should? Why am I dibbling and dabbling with so many things instead of just taking a stand for something? When will I ever make the decision to leave this job once and for all and launch my business? Those questions sometimes can be very damaging and self sabotaging. And this comes from the negative self talk from the environment around us. But instead, when you ask yourself the growth questions like the ones I shared with you, what can I do to improve my life today? What skills can I learn to help me get better? Which mentor do I need to work with right now to support me through my transition process? Growth questions will help your brain start looking for the next step so that you can be able to take a step forward in the right direction. Negative self talk does nothing but hold you back from spending your valuable time improving upon your goals and creating a meaningful life. Time, my ladies and gents, doesn't stop, and neither should you. So I'm going to throw this at you. You're the author of your own life story, and it's being written moment by moment. And how we choose to spend our time is literally the most valuable commodity that we can give away. We do not get a refund on the time that we spend on distractions or negative experiences that deviate us from our true essence. Once your story is finished, my love, you won't be able to go back and rewrite any of it. So, time spent on negative thoughts, feelings, beliefs, habits will never be given back to you. I want you to understand that you have full control over your time. Take time to analyze what are the things that drive you, what are the things that spark joy for you, what are the things that motivate you. What does a successful and fulfilled life look like for you? How do you want to be remembered by your loved ones and by the world? Who do I want to be like? All this comes from you, the core you, the true essence of you. When I struggled with my health issues, with the cancer situation that I shared at the beginning of this podcast, very many questions, the ones that I shared, popped into my mind. And it was rough at first, but that experience really helped me tap into what it is that I desire for my life. And for me, it's very evident that being able to share and express myself and help people find their true path in life is so important to me. Helping people, trailblazing professional women, entrepreneurial women, women who know and desire so much more for themselves, really tap into their passions and their purpose. And that's why I eat, live, and breathe purpose, because your purpose in life is to rediscover your true nature, your essence. So I want you to go back and say to yourself, what is it that I need to do today? Taking away all the masks, taking away all other people's perceptions. What do I need to do today to get so crystal clear on who you are from the inside out. And when this true nature is realized, your path becomes so clear. And you start finding yourself stepping, as I said, into realms of kindness, compassion, empathy, and joy. This becomes your natural state. Bliss becomes your natural state. Remember who you are and why you are here. And that will take you closer and closer to the fulfillment of your dreams. And I want you to make that connection, the connection that is vital to not only your happiness, but to your fulfillment. So that has been yet another lovely episode. I cannot wait to hear what you get from it. And you can always use the links that are in the show notes that will be able to show you how you can get back to me and give me your feedback on how the podcast is going. Have enjoyed talking to you. And as always, it is my delight and my pleasure. And I will remind you what I always say: this is your one royal life. Live it with boldness and courage.